Chris, I heard you on the Monday Night Club a couple of weeks ago. You're very good talking about getting back into work. I just wanted to start with that. How important was it for you to get back into a job, and especially here at the Boro?
I think I said on the Monday night, more importantly for my family than myself, that I got out of the house and from under their feet. As I've just said, I'm a football man. I've been in the game professionally since I was 16 and had incredibly small periods out of it. And from a managerial point of view, it was the longest, taking in obviously the summer break. So March, April, 6.5 weeks, and 2 or 3 months at the start. So I think the early part, maybe some people would have expected me to say that I might have needed that little break after being, in the job consistently for 20 odd years. But when those pre-season games start to roll, and then the ball rolls for the first game of the season, and I'm not there, it was quite difficult. But as I've said in previous interviews, from my point of view personally, the next job was an incredibly important one, and the decision that was made by myself was an incredibly important one. And I'm absolutely delighted that I was approached by Steve Gibson, Neil Bowser, Kieran Scott, and invited to come and talk to them about the position at the football club. And I think, listen, cards on the table. I think, I was always going to be working in the Championship. Worked in the Premier League for a period and loved it, and knowing what it's all about, even though it wasn't as long as I would have expected it to be, but that's understandable. But when the opportunity came to speak to Steve and Neil and Kieran, and as I said, knowing, and as I said, in terms of the clubs that potentially would suit what I'm about from a personality point of view, from a character point of view, a fit point of view, I was delighted that I got that call, and delighted to be sat here as manager of Middlesbrough Football Club.
And you've been here a couple of weeks now. What's your assessment of the squad so far?
We all have our own ideas on how to play, own ideas what we want it to look like from a physical point of view, from a tactical and technical point of view. I understand that. Every manager is different, and even in the sort of last 4 or 5 years at Middlesbrough, there's been a change from a Gary Monk to Tony Pulis to Johnny. To the last manager, and there will be a change from myself and my coaching staff and what we're bringing to Middlesbrough Football Club. So it has been quite difficult, because you guys will say, well, you've had a comfortable 2 weeks. It's not really been that, because injuries and players being on international duty. So it has been quite difficult and quite challenging. But I think one thing that you'll recognise is that I'm bang up for a challenge. So early part has been good. I've been delighted with the attitude of the players. I think one thing is, when you sometimes come into a new job, there's not just different challenges from a football point of view. There's different challenges from a character point of view, in terms of what the characters are like in the squad. And I've got to say, the attitude of the players that we've been working with has been excellent, and it has to be if you want to be successful.
And Neil Taylor through the door now, what's he going to bring to the squad?
Well, it's a difficult market. We've still got a bunch of games before the window opens on 1st of January. So it was important that we sourced out the free agent market. I think one of the things that I've looked at is, and I like, is balance of left footers and right footers, round pegs in round holes. Mark Bowler is obviously had a few issues, but I've been impressed with Mark as well, watching his clips in the time that I've had. But competition for places is crucial as well, and key. And I know what Neil's about. His CV speaks for itself, and his character speaks for itself. He was delighted to get the call to come up. He came up for a couple of days. He played in a 23s game. I think that's quite refreshing as well. In a day, it wasn't about, what am I getting out of it? How long's my contract? He wanted that opportunity. As I said, he's got a really solid CV. I know a lot about him, and he'll offer competition and pressure on Mark Bowler in that position. I don't want to play players out of position. I don't want to play Tav at left wing back. Listen, if there's an injury crisis, then people might have to play out of position, but round pegs in round holes, and in a way that we want to play as well, maybe a different way of playing than previous managers, which I think that's pretty a common thing to talk about.
And you've got that reputation of playing in a certain way, haven't you? This thing about overlapping centre halves and central midfielders, you can drop that. Do you feel like you've got the personnel here then to play how you want to play, or is January going to be more important for?
I think January will allow us to strengthen. I think it's always important for the current players that they see new players come into the building, and hopefully, I'm not going to bring players in that are going to make us any worse. I'm going to improve the squad as well. There's a lot talked about how we play, but I've always been a flexible manager in terms of how we play. Not sticking to one style to win a game of football. I think there's 2 or 3 ways we can win a game of football. You play through, round or over. Players nowadays have got to be tactically flexible, different systems. Do I like playing 3 centre-halves? Yeah. But there's all different ways and permutations that you can play that system. As seen, 3-4-3, a 10 and 2 9s, a sitter, 2 8s and a 9 and a 10. It's a bit like countdown, this, isn't it? The numbers I'm chucking at you. Trying to bamboozle with you and get you to think that I know what I'm on about, really. But different ways of playing. But really, to get the maximum out of some talented players, they've got to play in the positions that are natural to them, and that's what we'll try and do. We'll try and dominate the ball. Total respect for the division. Total respect for the teams that we're coming up against. We will, as I've always done. Whether it was in my early days in the conference, I think, still a couple of, players now will talk about, even in the early days in the conference, getting a hand out in terms of the opposition's strengths and weaknesses. So that'll definitely happen, especially at the level that we're playing at. But really, I want us to concentrate on ourselves, really, and I think we should do that as well, and making us the best that we can be.
Finally, for me, you're no stranger to promotion. You know what it takes to get teams up.
You're only chucking the promotion on me early doors. I've only been in the building 2 weeks.
Just because your predecessor said Middlesbrough should be and could well be up there come the end of the season. Is that a target that you've set yourself?
Well, I'm not surprised he said that when he's leaving the football club. So listen, that goes with the territory of a new manager coming in. We're midway, aren't we? It's been an inconsistent season, hasn't it? Inconsistent in terms of performances, inconsistent in terms of results. You win 3 games and you put yourself right up there. I think that happens to anybody. And you lose 3 and you're sliding down the table. But there's some talented players. It needs a lot of work doing to it. I still believe that. And as I said, whether that work is my stamp or the stamp of the coaches, then we'll do that. We're not frightened of getting his hands dirty and putting the hours in. And as I said, one of the good things in terms of the players' attitude is that I see a real enthusiasm for them to learn and to improve individually, and they're going to have to, and that's a demand that we'll be putting on them, because this isn't just another club, in my opinion. This is the reason that I waited and waited and waited for an opportunity. This is a big club. Maybe just felt a little bit comfortable. Now I've got to get out of the comfort zone and drive it forward and drag everybody along with me, and hopefully I can do that.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. Chris, hi, I'm from ITV Tighties. Just to sort of follow up on that, you talked about the inconsistencies. Is that one of the sort of biggest things that you noticed when you've been looking at the club in the last fortnight that you've been here?
I think that's safe to say. I'm not, I'm not being critical of anything. You walk into a club because of a reason. There's a reason why there was a change. I think you all understand that the reason that there was a change is because there's a more of a longer term view to it. But if you're gonna win games of football and you're gonna consistently be looking to be successful, you have to have that consistency, and it has to be in everything. Selection is one. Consistency from one half to the other. There's a stat that's flying around in terms of the football club being in a certain position after 45 minutes and a certain position after 90 minutes. Consistency in selection in terms of everybody being fit and healthy. So in that 2 weeks that you've talked about, and it has been quite short as well. I've got to say that we've been in quite early and leaving quite late, but that's not an issue. That's not a problem for us. We'll do that to make sure that we get to the bottom of each issue. And for me, if you're going to be a top player, if you're going to be a top team, you have to be 7.5, 8 every game. Whether it's whether it's a midweek game away from home, a long way from home, where the question's being asked of you from a character point of view, or it's an end of season, big game. You have to find that consistency in attitude and in performance if you want to be successful, and we've got to find that.
And when the approach was made to you to come to the football club, I mean, you said that there were other offers. What was it about Middlesbrough that made you think that ticks all the boxes?
The attitude of the chairman, the history of the chairman, how he deals with people, what his character's like, what his personality's like, the people he's working alongside, in Neil Bowser and Kieran Scott. Working with Kieran as well is an important one for me. There was a perception that I wanted to do everything. That's not the case, and I think if you speak to anybody at the football clubs that I've always worked with, I'm very inclusive of everybody. Of course, you have to make the big decision from a footballing point of view, but my staff, I'll be very inclusive of what they bring to the table. Work very closely with Alan and a couple of guys that I've brought up with me. But as you've seen, it's not wholesale changes. I'm looking forward to working with the staff, and the history of the football club is big for me. The area as well. I can affiliate myself a little bit from where I'm from as well, and what they demand and what I demand of the team is pretty much similar. There isn't going to be any spin on anything. I'm seeing the same games as the supporters. I might now and again, differ of opinion on certain things, but I think that happens up and down the country at every football club. But I just want an honest, hard-working team to represent what the area is about, and the ambition of the team represents the ambition of the supporters, which is obviously to get back into the Premier League.
I suppose with Steve Gibson, without mentioning the promotion word too heavily, there's a recipe there for success, isn't there?
Well, it's been an incredible period. There has been some downtime in that. Everybody understands that, and I think it happens to a lot of clubs. And just going through a period now where the football club doesn't really want to be where it is, but got to accept it is, and it is for a reason. And everybody has to accept that responsibility. But as I said, one of the things was the working relationship with senior management and owner. I had to get that right, and it was crucial. Yeah, we can talk about brilliant facilities and fabulous ground and great fan base, home and away. I've got to excite them to get more into the ground. The players have got to excite them in the way of playing and the way we go about our business. But the relationship between me and the owner was absolutely crucial, and I'm sure there's going to be disagreements. There's going to be cross words, but I think that's healthy. I'm not scared of that because he wants the best for the football club, and he's shown that in terms of what he's done. And I certainly want the best for Middlesbrough Football Club, and we'll be going all out to produce that.
Just looking ahead to your first game in charge, I mean, how do you think it'll feel that moment when you sort of step out of the Riverside as Middlesbrough manager for the first time?
Listen, there'll be, I'm sure, I'm excited about it, but there's a job to be done. and I've got to be cold and clear and concentrating on the job in hand, which is to get a result. And yet you can talk about long-term plans from Kieran's point of view, putting structure in place, the connection from the academy to the first team, a consistent attitude in recruitment, making sure we get value for money. So yeah, of course there'll be a little bit of emotion at 5-3, but it's game on. It's definitely game on for me to get a result and help the players, and Alan to help the players and the staff to help the players. And I'm sure the supporters, but we've got to excite the supporters. You know, it's not the other way around. We've got to get them off the chair, off the seats, and hopefully we'll do that with the way we play. As you've seen, it's not all going to be, you know, plain sailing. There's going to be some bumps in the road, but we'll ride them and hopefully come out the other end.
And just, I suppose, great incentive. You know, you beat Millwall and you close the gap, don't you?
You've seen in division, you win a couple of games. You've seen, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago where there was 3 wins on the spin, and all of a sudden club went from one position to a higher position. It's a very open league, in my opinion, from 3 down. You know, I'm sure those teams in the top 3 will look to keep that consistent run going. What they're showing. And they're very, very powerful sides. You know, 2 out of the 3 recently relegated, and one obviously a year ago that's kept a lot of good players and added to them. So it's a very competitive league. It's still quite competitive financially as well. You know, and there's some other clubs that will fancy the chances of putting a run together, which have the ability to do that. And but as you can imagine, all my focus on is us doing what we need to do to get to where we want to be. Thank you. Cheers.
Written press.
Yeah, Chris, Craig from the Gazette. Can I just start by asking about injuries and you know who isn't available this weekend?
So Craig, I'm not going to give you anything, and you're going to have to learn that. I'm not showing my hand because nobody shows me their hand. So there's a few, as you can understand, and it's important that we get everybody back healthy. I've got to say, apart from Sammy Amiobi, Darnell Fisher, Marcus Brown is looking to get back on the grass. Dale Fry is making big strides to get himself back available. I think one of the things that we have to look at as well is that there is still over 30 games to go, so there is no gambles going to be taken in terms of chucking people in. You know, they have to come through a process now that make sure that they don't re-injure themselves. It's not guaranteed, but there's certainly something that we need to look at. If it's just I think it's natural common sense that, you know, and a basic statement is that we need everybody healthy. We need as many players knocking on the door. I want to have the hardest job in this area. I've got the best job in the area, but I want to have the hardest one in terms of picking that team on a Thursday or a Friday. And I want people knocking on my door and saying, why am I not playing? And me to talk to them when I do talk to them, which will possibly be on a Monday morning. But the team will be picked to get a result. There might be changes, as I said, from a tactical point of view, from a personnel point of view. Players have got to understand that, accept that, and it is all about the group. But the group will only be good if it's healthy and it's up to numbers. And obviously, at the moment, as you'll possibly have seen and might see on Saturday, it's not in that position where I'd like it to be.
And how difficult does that make it? Obviously, you've had these nearly 2 weeks, but and obviously you're trying to, if you like, implement a new style on these players. How difficult is that when you are missing so many? Yeah,
it is. I mean, the international boys have been away. The injured boys, you know, we've had Uchi back on the grass this week. We've had Mark Bowler back on the grass this week, so they missed last week's work. So I think at one stage last week we had 10 and we had 3 kids in there. Kokolo, T and Josh Coburn. and Civi as well. So we had 4 kids in there. So it wasn't a senior group. So we have to look at everything and, looking at the conditioning of it. But I think the difficult part of it is maybe where it's at the moment to where I want it to be on a Monday to Friday, because I really do take a big outlook and attitude towards what happens on a Monday to Friday to condition yourself, not just for Saturday, but what's coming forward. It's going to be an even more difficult situation next week with a 3-game week. So the intensity of training will possibly drop down. So it's trying to get that balance, because I don't want to absolutely flog the boys all over the place in the week, and they've got no energy for the main event. So getting that balance right is key and important.
Yeah, and you mentioned you have a particular way of playing, a particular thing that you want from your players. I mean, do you anticipate because of this there might be a bit of a bedding in period, or do you expect those players to play a particular way on Saturday and
They'll try. They've been receptive to it. It's enjoyable. I think one of the things that if you ask players that have played for me, they enjoy playing in the way. We want to dominate the ball. We want to create chances. There's times we're going to get pinned back. We want to have a structure and an identity out of possession as well as in possession, which you'll see. And I've talked about a respect for the opposition, but not overkill. Making sure that that we do what we want to do and try and take the game, whether it's home and away, to the opposition and impose ourselves on them. And they'll get enough information. They've had video analysis meetings individually. They have video analysis meetings from a unit point of view. We've tried to get a little bit of work from a physical point of view into them. But obviously the last 2 days have been focusing on getting ourselves right. And as I said, it has been quite difficult because Saliki's not been here. Limited time for Sprawler, limited time for Paddy McNair, and especially Paddy and Sprawler have been big players for the team. And but I'm looking forward to working with the other guys. And as what happens, it is a clean slate for everybody. It has to be, and it's up to them to impress me as well. I'm all eyes and I'm all ears, and I'm looking and I'm seeing who comes out, and maybe one might just come out as well. Might one just pop out that you think, maybe he wasn't fancied, but he might do for me.
And just lastly from me, you mentioned the importance of January, and as I understand it, with Neil joining, that'll be 24 in your squad of 25 permitted, and of course there's finances as well. How much juggling do you think is going to be needed in January?
Yeah, we're going to have to be smart. Myself and Kieran and the board are going to have to be smart, and the recruitment team are going to have to be smart. There might be departures, which happens, and I think players understand and accept that. But I want to freshen it up. I want to bring in a couple of players into positions that I believe that we need. So there's all sorts of things. The obvious financial fair play situation, which the owner rightly so has been very, very strong on his opinion, and rightly so, because I've been involved at a football club previously that has not paid wages and been in financial difficulties. So it's important that everybody runs a tight ship, and as you've seen recently from Reading, from the Derby situation, they're the rules and we've got to stick to them, and we will do. So if we have to juggle and play smart and make our own money to reinvest, we'll do that. But it's something that, if you saw the team that came out, my previous club that has come out of 2 divisions and other teams that I've managed, you have to be that way. And Neil Taylor is an example. We talked about him, and he'll bring quality. And as you said, from everything, from a financial point of view, from a numbers point of view, from a way of playing point of view, to get those boys in to make us better going into the second part of the season. Cheers.
Hi Chris, I'm Andy from the Northern Echo.
How are you?
Hiya. You went to the Riverside the other day. Obviously, you're big on culture of a club. You're big on the personnel in behind the scenes. How did you find your visit there?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Good to catch up with everybody and meet everybody. There's an incredible enthusiasm about the place in tough, difficult times. We've just come through a pandemic. I know how much the football club means to the people in the area, the people that work at the football club. They've got a part to play. It's important that we connect all this football club together, and spread the word that it is a great football club to work for, good people to work for, and we're all in it together. And I went round and spoke to different people. And I've got to say, the one thing that I've noticed is there's a real enthusiasm about the future, which is, I think, is really refreshing in terms of the times that we're in. You know, it's not let's be right about it. You know, it's not an incredibly affluent area. You know, people work hard for the money, and they want to see people, you know, give an honest day's work, whether it's, you know, down wherever they're working from an industrial point of view, or whether it's on a football pitch. And I recognise that with my upbringing, and it was good to catch up with everybody, and hopefully we can do our bit, because I know what a successful team looks like, and I know what a successful team can do to the area, and if we can do that, that'll make everybody at the football club very, very proud.
And I guess seeing all that is fire in the belly for you as well, and the rest of your coaching stuff. So it's just maybe a case of trying to translate that across to.
Yeah, I don't need any motivation. From my point of view, I'm as fired up than I've ever been, and you know, I've had some relative success over the period of 20 years, but that hasn't died down at all. I'm as demanding as ever. I'm passionate as ever. My staff are. And that's what I demand off the supporters. Not the supporters, that's what I demand off the players. And I'm sure that the supporters will see that.
I suppose naturally within the media, Boro already been linked with some ex-Sheffield United players, which again is a vindication of your work over there. But how much do you feel as though you need to compartmentalise that now? That was all in the past, and this is completely.
I don't need to talk about my love for that football club. You know, it ended, and it obviously ended in a way that I didn't want it to end. But that's life. You know, I made a decision, and it was a huge decision. Of course it was, and I think Middlesbrough supporters would understand that. If it was vice versa, they'd understand that, because they know what football's about, and it was an incredibly tough decision. But I made it because I felt I needed to make it, and but. That journey's come to an end. It was fabulous. I've got incredible sort of memories and experiences that will last me for a lifetime. But I want to build some new experiences, and I want to create some new memories. And I believe I can, because I'm going to be given the opportunity, the tools, and the time to do the job.
And just lastly from me, you've got 2 home games on the bounce to come in quite a quick succession. That must be pleasing for you, given you'll get a sense of the grounding that you'll get in the Middlesbrough dugout.
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. I think one of the things that we've talked about is making it a difficult place to come and play football, whether they're up against the team or they're up against the environment and the atmosphere. And as I've said, I wasn't being disrespectful to anything. You know, there is a line, and there's a respect line. Of course, we live in that world. And that era, and we don't want it to overstep the mark, but I want it to be uncomfortable for everybody that comes to the Riverside. You know, I want it to be uncomfortable for players, managers, for everybody connected to the opposition. I want it to be a tough place to come, and we'll only do that if we produce the goods on the pitch, and we'll get there. It might take a little bit of time, but we'll get there, and it'll be a difficult place to come, because, you know, in experience, sometimes the bigger clubs, the fabulous stadiums, maybe at times doesn't do the football club any favours at times, because sometimes it's a little bit too easy to come and get a result. Well, that's part of the remit and part of something that I need to address, and making sure that we have a really solid home record. Of course, you know, you have to pick up results on the road to be successful, but you know, to have that home record really strong is something that we were looking to do. Cheers, thanks.
Hi Chris, you're doing it for the Nationals. I've been covering North East football since the days of Brian Robson,
Wow.
Keegan, Peter Beads.
Good stuff.
Seen it all. You're Sheffield born and bred. You're incredibly proud of having managed your hometown club and all that. And can you see it on this club getting under your skin and having that?
It already
say
has.
on? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it already has,
Yeah.
and it has done my previous clubs. I think that's, something that happens. Yeah, I'm all in. My players have to be all in.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean because I wasn't born in the area.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that It doesn't mean that Jonah, who's a young player, Isaiah Jones, he comes from London. He's a connection now into Middlesbrough. He's a Middlesbrough player. He's bought into what the club's all about. I think what you've seen as well, you've seen in the past. My pal John Beresford, born and raised in Sheffield, played for Newcastle, loves Newcastle.
I did a piece with him and he said Newcastle should give you the job.
Oh, right. So he has tried at times to be part agent of me. So yeah. So ex-players live in the area. They buy into it. You have to buy into it. You have to give it everything. You have to sacrifice everything. Give everything to the football club. That's what I demand off the players. That's what they'll get off me and the staff, regardless of where we're born and where we're brought up in.
And you think the Middlesbrough story in the next few years can be as emotional, as dramatic, as successful as the Sheffield United story?
Why not? Why not? It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's not going to be done overnight. But why not? There's no black cloud hanging over the place. There's, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of good things that are happening here. Off the pitch, there's a lot of good things happening, and hopefully on the pitch we can put that right. But it's been a long time. I'm not going to make bold statements and saying, in 18 months' time, we're going to be out of the division. But we need to be challenging. I think that's the least that the club can or needs to expect to do, is to be challenging to get out of division. It is getting increasingly tough. People talk about parachute payments and the strength of the teams that get relegated in terms of what they can keep, and the financial fair play in the Championship. But we've got to find a way around that. I'm sure we can.
And just one last one from me. Everyone sees you as a perfect fit for this club, but what you don't want to be is have that tag of a Championship manager, do you?
I just want to be a successful manager. So whatever division I work in, which I've worked right the way through the pyramid, I want to be a success. I've had success at every level, relative success as well. I just want to be successful, and whether that takes us, obviously, from Championship to Premier League, then that'll be a fabulous challenge to deal with when we get there, because I'm sure we will.
Your best day is still to come?
Yeah, well, the ambition's there, my knowledge is there. I'm a better manager than I've ever been through the experiences that I've had. The experience that I've had, even recently, will make me a better manager and a better person for it. So, as I said, you have to take those blows and the down times as well, and come roaring back. And that's what I intend to do, and that's what hopefully I can add to the football club. Because, as I said, there's no dark cloud over it, and there's no reason why we can't. Tagged as a Championship manager, only managing the Championship for 2 years. So we went up. There was a promotion. There was a 10th place finish and a promotion. So I've had 2 years in the Premier League and 2 years in the Championship. I know where I want to work, and I know where the football club wants to be. Brilliant. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Rob. Hi, so Rob Nichols from the fanzine Flies.
Hey, Rob.
Hello. How important would you say to you and to the club and to the players is bringing all the fans on board?
It's not something that I'm going to demand. They'll make their own minds up, but I've got a good idea how they'll go about it. I'd love them to get on the journey, and I'm sure they will. I know about the area. I know about the past achievements. I do believe I've got a finger on the pulse in terms of what the area is about and what the culture's about and what they want to see in their football team. They want to see people running around. They want to see a work ethic, and they want to see them play as well. Because people can talk about commitment and work ethic and being competitive and being aggressive, because it's a competitive, aggressive area. I don't think I'm being out of line in terms of saying that. People work hard, and they play hard as well. And we want to play in a certain way. there has been a culture in terms of the way the football club has played the football as well. You know, dominating the ball and playing decent football. For me, it's effective football. Let's play effective football. Let's not just be pigeonholed with we're just going to play one way. Effective football is playing different ways, but most importantly, whatever it takes is to win a game of football, and that's what hopefully we can bring.
And you said you mentioned work ethic, which is very important, obviously, to people here. But yeah, we connect. We've had some great players in the recent past and in going further back. So it's not just precluding that, is it? You recognise that people, the fans, really enjoy seeing a great player.
Of course they do. They've got to play in a team environment, but these players can. You know, the change room is not full of robots. You know, it's full of different characters, different ages, different personalities, from different backgrounds, from different football clubs. You know, you've got, you know, players at different parts of their career, young players that are coming through, academy players that are coming in, Josh coming in, young players that have come from non-league, experienced players, foreign players, but they've got to bring that all together. But I want to see talented players. I want to be entertained as well. You know, one of the things that, you know, you have to get the back door shut. You have to make sure that you've got a strategy and a structure out of possession. It can't be gung-ho, because you're never gonna win games of football, and we're all here to win. And there's all different ways and manners of playing your football. But I want to play effective football, and in the past they've had that. They've had some really good footballers that have produced some good results, and they don't do that by just being, you know, prima donnas or technically unbelievable players or superstars. They need the other part. So it's putting that all together, putting players alongside other players, trying to paint a picture, trying to put the pieces in the jigsaw. There's all sorts of different things you can talk about, but they have to have, and they have, you know, all the fabulous players that Middlesbrough have had in the past. They've had a work ethic as well. You know, they've all run around, they've all put the foot in, they all want to get on the ball. So there's always different types of bravery as well. But I want to be entertained, and I'm sure the supporters want to be entertained, but they want to see all different types of characteristics brought to the football club.
Looking from the outside, your teams seem to be about a big part of it was the intensity, and that wasn't just the play, but as you mentioned, you've alluded to the ground, the home ground. Of course, we haven't got two clubs here. We've got one club. Everyone's supporting the same club. So is that something you really hope to bring?
100%. You know, that's what you want, as I talked about before. You know, I want people to be excited to come. I want it to be the main focus of their week. You know, I want to drive in the car park and see, you know, the punters having a pint in the fan zone and really looking forward to it, because it's the main thing, you know. And when it wasn't during the pandemic, I think you saw how much it affected everybody. So I think now we've got ourselves back into a little bit of normality. You see the main things, the big passion in what drives people and what people enjoy coming back now, and the football's huge. It's huge in the air. It's huge in all our lives, and I want to see that when they say excitement. I want to see when the team runs out, they're looking forward to it. They're not, oh, we're just here again. You know, we've been here before, and dear me, you know, yeah, oh, that's what's happened. Same old Boro, blah blah blah. We're walking out with 20 minutes to go. You know, they have to be entertained. They have to be enthralled. You know, we all have to take the down times. We have to take the disappointments. But hopefully we can have a bit of fun and a bit of enjoyment along the way, and watching a team go well. And that's up to myself and Kieran and Steve and Neil and the coaching staff and the players to bring that all together. And as seen, as soon as you get a little bit of momentum and it moving forward, it's quite difficult to stop. When it goes the other way, it's quite difficult to stop as well. But I don't think I'm turning the tank around. But, you know, we need to point it in the right direction. And I think if we can get a bit of momentum going, then I'm sure we can be very, very powerful football club in this division.